First, sorry about the noise. Unfortunately, electronics tend to get hot, so I got some fans going. But let's not dwell on that. Let's get to the movie. A long time ago, a very controversial film about the creation and combat of a biblical figure came out. Now, they've decided, in the age of prequels and sequels to long-dead franchises, to revive one more. The first OMEN. Now, I've seen all the other OMEN films. Most of them are pretty good. The remake is only pretty good if you haven't seen the original. Otherwise, it's just redundant. But now, they've decided to bring back the original franchise with a prequel. First, the shortcomings. It's a bit too long. 2 hours is too long. They probably could have chopped 30 minutes out and not missed much. They probably could have done all the good jump scares, all the investigation and the big payoff with just 90 minutes instead of 2 hours. But when you get to the payoff, it's worth it. But I'm still on the shortcomings, so let's get rid of it, finish those out. Second, if you watch the original, you'll notice that certain plot elements don't add up correctly. People are probably going to wonder why such and such is related to such and such and not the other way around. But I'm willing to overlook that because this film is pretty good. There's a palpable tension, and there are a couple of jump scares that are really good. And normally jump scares are lame, but that first jump scare that we got to see, even though I knew it was coming, I still jumped. It was really good. Other scares, they're slower, but they still work. And like I said, the big payoff at the end was visceral and demonic and angelic and crazy and fairly satisfying. So, yeah. Next, the cast. The actress playing our our starring character, a novice nun who has a bit of a shady past and whose future is uncertain. The actress did a really good job. She starts out as this wide-eyed, doe-in-the-woods type person, and by the end, she's like a war veteran, complete with the jaded and cynical attitude, but still warm in the role she's been pressed into. Other characters include other nuns who feel very human, but at the same time, there's an air of creepiness about them. Like, you want to get to know them, but you know that they're hiding something. Especially this one who befriends the main character. Then, of course, there are several priests, one of whom is played by Bill Nighy, who did a pretty good job. Then, of course, there's oh, what's his name? Hang on. If I can find it. He played second thought, never mind. I think Terrence Stamp is his name. He played a villain character in the series Game of Thrones. He's good at playing villain characters. Well, maybe not Terrence Stamp. Well, anyway, he had a short role, but it was impactful. And yes, that is a very bad pun. You'll see what I mean if you see the movie. And then, of course, there's this one actor who is very subtle in his mannerisms, but he's actually taking up the reins of the role the late, great Patrick Troughton played in the first film. And honestly, while he looks a bit older than Troughton did in that film, he still does a pretty good job of filling Troughton's shoes with what little he's got. And then there are a lot of kids. Thankfully, the kids who get the most screen time aren't annoying. There's this one girl who has a small part to play in the whole plot, and she does a pretty good job. She plays disturbed, but in need of help very well. And ultimately, her story closes out on a fairly high note. Uncertain, but not tragic. Basically, the whole cast did a really good job. I found the creepy characters definitely believably creepy, and the good characters were able to keep the tension up with their desperation in the situation. There are some gore effects, and they are very effective. There are certain scenes where you can almost feel what the characters are going through. And while most of it isn't explicit, there are some very cringe-worthy moments that just make you squirm in your seat. And that's a sign of a good horror flick. The music, which has just a tiny drop of the classic OMEN soundtrack, but fills in for it with sort of a religious-sounding opera that is meant to subtly unsettle you. And it does a really good job. The music is supposed to be uplifting, but it's really disturbing when you peel back the layers. The story itself is set in Rome, and it's both beautiful and depressing in that the city is technically a ruin, but at the same time it's a beautiful ruin. Not sure if they filmed on location or not, but what they did get was really good. Overall, the first Omen wasn't a prequel we asked for or really needed. And like I said, certain plot elements at the end didn't match up to certain elements in the first film. But while it takes a while to get off the ground, the story itself is really well done. If this causes a revival of this particular franchise, maybe as an alternate reality setup, like with the Halloween films, or it might connect to that OMEN series that I never watched. Probably should. Yeah, it did a good job of entertaining me towards the end. And while the slow pace annoyed me, the stuff we got leading up to the big payoff was actually really entertaining in places. So if you're a fan of this franchise, maybe check it out. It's certainly worlds better than the shot-for-shot remake of the first film, which rendered it pointless by being shot-for-shot, not doing anything new with it. This is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, sometimes believing is enough. Just be careful what you believe in, because you never know when the devil on your shoulder might try to get in your head or other places. Cheers. Happy June 6th.